Hi, this is Brian Kim. I'm going to share with you how you can reliably and consistently place the chopper out to the equator safely and without any complications or concerns or worry. This is not only important for the double chop maneuver, but this is also necessary when you're performing horizontal chop with traditional technique and when you're simply trying to mobilize pieces out of the bag, prolapsing pieces up and out of the bag, hooking the chopper around the lens pieces. This is an important maneuver, and this is really a fundamental maneuver on how you can become more efficient and versatile with your cataract technique. So in order to place the chopper out to the equator safely, you need to make sure you're within the capsular bag. In other words, you need to be underneath the anterior capsule. And the easiest way to make sure you're underneath the anterior capsule is to get underneath the epinuclear ridge. And so you can see in this diagram, the epinuclear ridge is the ridge that's created when you remove the surface epinuclear material with the phaco tip. That means the surface underneath you is the endonucleus, and the edge just underneath the anterior capsule is that epinuclear ridge. You can place the chopper on the surface of the endonucleus, and being on the surface of the endonucleus, that means you know that the epinucleus is above you, and therefore the anterior capsule is also above you. Again, you can slide it against the endonucleus in the horizontal direction, slide it on top of the endonucleus, which means you're going to be sliding through the epinuclear ridge. You're definitely going to be underneath the anterior capsule. You can rotate the chopper in the correct orientation once you're into the capsular equator. And once you have the chopper at the capsular equator, you're in the perfect position to perform double chop, cross chop, horizontal chop, or pulling pieces out of the bag. So let's take a look at a case here. I'm removing the surface epinuclear material. And as you can see, there's a red area that I've delineated where I've removed that central epinuclear material. I'm going to slide the chopper out underneath the epinuclear ridge and out to the capsular equator. You saw the maneuver just like that. I'm going to go back out and then I'm going back in. And so I'm going back out and in. Again, just to illustrate the maneuvers, you have to keep your hand pronated, slide the chopper out, and then supinate to get the chopper in the correct position. And that is the maneuver. Keeping it pronated, sliding it out, and then supinating it. So there's the epinuclear ridge. I'm going to slide the chopper underneath the epinuclear ridge. You see I'm going back and forth, sliding it out. I'm rotating the phaco tip vertically. I'm pivoting the phaco tip vertically to just show you the vertical action of the phaco tip. I bury it subincisionally through the lens material. I'm going to bring both instruments together, the phaco tip and the chopper, using mechanical fracturing forces to crush the lens completely in half. And this is the double chop maneuver. That red line marks the epinuclear ridge. I'm going to place a chopper tip out and underneath the epinuclear ridge. I pull the chopper essentially towards the phaco tip, and this crushes and divides the right heminucleus, and this is the cross chop maneuver. I use high vacuum to pull that first quadrant up, and I'm using mechanical fracturing forces to crush the lens material with the chopper against the phaco tip. You can see another epinuclear ridge here over the second quadrant. I'm going to place the chopper underneath the epinuclear ridge out into the capsular equator, and I'm going to pull that second quadrant out of the bag, and I'm using high vacuum and mechanical fracturing forces to remove that second quadrant. I'm going to rotate the second heminucleus in front of me, and then I have another epinuclear ridge delineated by the red line. I'm going to place a chopper underneath the epinuclear ridge and out to the capsular equator, pulling the chopper centrally against the phaco tip and dividing that second heminucleus into a third and fourth quadrant. That third quadrant was able to come out using high vacuum, and I emulsified it fairly easily using mechanical fracturing forces and high vacuum. You can see over the fourth quadrant, there's another epinuclear ridge with the red line. I'm placing the chopper out underneath the epinuclear ridge and out to the capsular equator. I pull the chopper centrally and divide the fourth quadrant against the phaco tip, and then I'm using high vacuum as well as mechanical fracturing forces to crush the lens piece into smaller pieces and to emulsify the lens pieces. I wanted to highlight the epinuclear ridge and the advantage of using the epinuclear ridge as a visual cue to be able to slide that chopper under the epinuclear ridge out into the capsular equator. By doing it this way, you can safely place the chopper out to the equator for double chop, cross chop, horizontal chop, even pulling pieces out of the bag. And those people who have no experience with these techniques, as long as you're able to place that chopper underneath the epinuclear ridge, you should not cause a capsular tear, a zonular tear, or any type of complication related to placement of the chopper out to the equator. If you master these techniques, I promise you, you'll be a much more versatile surgeon. You'll know how to be able to pull pieces out of the bag. You'll be able to consistently perform chopping maneuvers such as horizontal chop, double chop, and cross chop. So I hope this was helpful to you, and I thank you for your attention.